Well, hello. How are you? Welcome to the show. It's a beautiful day for lots of reasons. Sun's out. Lovely day. Autumn here in my neck of the woods. But I wanted to talk about other reasons why it's a lovely day. I feel like it's a lovely day and a win for freedom of speech because Tucker Carlson is back on the air. He had his first show on Twitter, and I'm just following up from my last video where I was talking about what happened to him at Fox and being let go. And it was the worst move they ever made. It's so funny how mainstream media thinks that you need them to have a platform when all it takes is for someone like Tucker Carlson to gain a following by just simply talking about the truth and speaking his mind and having an open and honest debate. And so now he's on Twitter, and his first show in the first few hours had over 50 million views. It's got over 100 million views now. In comparison, his primetime show on Fox, with all that power and marketing behind it, only had a few million views. And now, the mainstream news like CNN, they don't even get that in a day. They don't even get half that, barely half that. 400,000-ish views. And think about that. He's gone on to Twitter, and he took his audience with him. And everyone knew that was going to happen, and it has. So there you have it. He's found a platform, and I'm glad he has. And just in general, with mainstream media, they really have become tribal. And this is Fox as well. Whether you think, yeah, I get it. I feel that Fox would at least try to get both opinions on the show. They had a wider range of different opinions on either side of the aisle. And whether you think they're conservative leaning and they're the devil, and CNN, they're the only real mainstream news and they're the truth, and Fox is fake news, I have to admit, at least Fox would bring on maybe someone very liberal or conservative or someone down the line. The point is, it was just about having a conversation and a debate on the subject, rather than having a narrative, rather than every single report and every single show around only one view, which is not to be mean. On CNN, it's normally the leftist view, and usually extreme left, not even just barely. So already, the mainstream media, they're all similar. And the fact that they think you need them to get your news now. And I think Tucker, his show on Twitter, now absolutely proves that, without a doubt, because his audience followed him. The audience has changed over the years. It's no longer about TV, and yeah, they're becoming so tribal, just like with politics. The mainstream stations, not just TV, but newspapers as well, they've become so tribal and divisive, and they say things like this. So CNN reported, now Tucker's back on Twitter with his low budget show. I had to laugh at that. That is really so sad that they're trying to have a dig at him about low budget, as if that matters these days at all. And first of all, let me tell you, I've worked in television and media or video production for as long as I can remember, for most of my life and career. And I've seen that evolve. As a kid who sat in front of the TV as a kid, television certainly has evolved, but so has technology. What I'm doing right now, I'm doing it on my phone, as most people are, or they're doing it with very sophisticated equipment that is not solely in the hands of big tech and a big business or a big television station. I'm not knocking them that they haven't evolved too, but along with that, technology has evolved for the little guy. So to say that it's low budget is irrelevant and silly, because actually it wasn't. It was like any other sort of mid to high level production, and it's his first show. He's doing it on his own, by the way. So already that's fantastic. And he has a platform on Twitter, so he doesn't need anything else. And if he gets, what does he need? A background, a big set. So is that what they're saying? They're saying no one will believe you unless there's a very professional set piece behind you and a suit and a tie. He was in a suit and tie, and the rest is, who gives a shit? I'm there to listen to him. If the video's there and the audio works, the audience will come. So that was just a low blow and irrelevant to say low budget. There is no such thing as low budget. Even low budget is pretty high end these days. So too bad, so sad for them. That ain't gonna work. Their platform being high budget ain't gonna help. They can throw any amount of money at it. Won't help. The audience won't come back. They'll follow Tucker. Isn't it a beautiful day? But yeah, like I say, with mainstream media, if you're listening to this and you're following me and you like what I'm saying and you get it, that's good. If you're listening and you don't like it, that's good too. I'd like to have everybody to start listening. That's the point of anyone who wants to get out there and just speak the truth. And if you're someone that says I have a certain view, well, that's fine. But my thing is, I'm always open to discussion. That is the trick about free speech, and that's the problem I think with some people who are just so stuck on a certain idea. And a lot of times, I think they are the activist type. I think a certain personality type is drawn to that, and it becomes like a cult, because if you say the wrong thing to them or it doesn't fit what they're trying to tell you, they'll cancel you. And the cancel culture thing, that's such a bad part of that. It's such a narrow view. And I don't believe in that. I believe in having an open discussion. And that's what Tucker Carlson does. He reports the news. What happened to the news reporter? There is no such thing anymore. There are very few now. He's one of them. And I don't know. I don't know if there is the real, the reporter on the scene, breaking the news, speaking the truth, breaking the secrets. No, because you can't. Because that was Tucker, and Fox got rid of him for it. So, the days of the Walter Cronkite tuning into news and knowing that you're going to get the truth, that's gone. There is no truth. You can't work on a mainstream news media outlet and speak the truth if the truth is about the advertisement that's going to come up next for the next segment. You can't talk about big pharma. You can't talk about big tech. You can't talk about the war machine when they're the ones sponsoring you. When an ad, is coming up for Pfizer, you can't talk about COVID and vaccinations if Pfizer is sponsoring you. So already that's a problem with mainstream media. They are tongue-tied now. They are bound by the money that allows them to be on the air. And that's not new. It's always been like that. It's just worse now. It's so much worse. So, you can't speak the truth if it happens to be the story is about the people that are paying your bills. So, I'll admit that's where Twitter is different. And that is only recently with Elon Musk. No matter what you think about him personally, or you have to understand he is at least sticking to his guns, and he's doing what he said. Again, irrespective of everything else. By the way, it's so funny to me that so many super liberal leftists turned on Elon Musk. Obviously, I can't say his name today. When he's the man who is working so hard to fix your climate change. This is the man who is mainstreaming the electric car and the electric car business. He is at the forefront of that. Why are you so mad at him? You're mad at him because he wanted to bring back actual free speech to what was supposed to be an already open forum platform? That's the thing. Twitter was... That's why I guess I was drawn to Twitter. It's the town square. And that's fascinating to me. You can go on there and speak about something, and if you put the right hashtag, you let another group in on it who has similar views. And then further hashtags, you can let other groups who maybe wouldn't normally read that or think about it, and you've opened their mind up. It is the town square, and it's fascinating, and it's for everybody. And the problem is when it's about, oh, you can't have hate speech or fake news or falsehoods. And that's what we got mostly through COVID, because that's a slippery slope, because who decides that? You know? We're getting into the Orwellian 1984. We're getting into the Ministry of Truth. And again, the current White House pretty much wanted to create that. It didn't go anywhere, but it was almost there. It was going to be the misinformation group of people. And I mean, tell me that doesn't sound like the Ministry of Truth. So who decides what's inappropriate and what's appropriate? That, look, maybe you want to call it a double-edged sword. That's what you get with free speech, and you have to take it. You cannot get an honest, open discussion in free speech and also try to stop certain people from getting their ideas out. It doesn't work like that. You either have free speech or you don't. And it's not just America, but I can only comment on America. But this is any free Western world that says they embrace free speech. You have to be able to tolerate someone who next door is a patriot and they're flying the American flag and they're proud of that. Maybe they fought in the war and their story is something that you should get to know. And next door to them is someone who maybe is burning the American flag. And you know what? You've already won. You know why you've won by living in a country like that? Because you can both do those things. And the point is not to be tribal and fight each other and get mad at each other. The point is to do what you do and then have a conversation about it. Why don't you have a talk? Why don't you get to know each other? Why don't you figure out why he's so proud of that flag? Why don't you figure out why he's burning the flag? And I've heard this before, and I'm starting to come around to this. Everyone wants a solution to everything. There has to be a solution to war, a solution to climate change. There has to be a solution. And if you're on the wrong side of it, you're canceled. You're the devil. It's not so much about solutions. I'll be honest, I know this is tough. It's more about trade-offs. That's life in general. You think when someone goes to court, like it's a movie, that someone just wins outright and someone loses? 99% of the time, if you've gotten to court and if it is something quite serious or painful or a death or something, there are only losers. There's just degrees of losing. And money in the court, that's how people say sorry, with money. But that doesn't necessarily mean you've won, especially if you lost a loved one or something. So my point is even in that realm, there are only trade-offs and agreements. Agree to disagree, and this is what we'll decide is the best for everyone. That's the same with life, and you need to start having those discussions. And you can't do that if you're someone who just gets so riled up. And the passion is great. I'm not going to knock the passion of people who get riled up, but you can't knock the other guy when he disagrees with what you say. And this is all leading back to why Tucker Carlson was let go. He flew too close to the sun. He started to talk about stories that involved the U.S. government and big pharmaceuticals and big tech, and he wasn't making them up. They weren't coming from crazy lunatics. These are reporting facts. Nobody likes the facts when it hits too close to home, especially when it's the government. They don't like that. And no, mainstream media in America, except for PBS, any sort of public broadcasting, much like Canada, yeah, that is government run. It's funded. It's different. You got to watch them. But mainstream media, at its heart, is meant to be just free and open news and truth and reporting. And it's not anymore. I'm not saying government have a complete stronghold on them, but the big corporations, and I'm not a conspiracy theory person. I'm not someone. I don't think that's a fair judgment of anyone. Yesterday's conspiracy theorists turned out to be today's fact givers, especially a lot through COVID. The same people who, this person's not saying this about masks or vaccinations or COVID or any of these narratives. And now more and more people are finding out there are facts and truth behind it. So yeah, a lot of the people are being vindicated. So it's not about conspiracy theory. It's just about being open to having these conversations and discussions. And sometimes these conversations are a bit touchy because they are about the things that we want to believe are safe because we use it every day. We use the medical world, technology, pharmaceuticals and drugs, and all these things add to our lives and help us every day. Of course they do. I won't deny that. But at the same time, when money's involved and people, unfortunately nothing can be pure when it gets to that. I'm sorry, there's no such thing as pure when money's involved, and you can't help that. So, yeah, what can I say, Big money rules the world. Big tech rules the world. And when you go against that, like he did, when you have stories that bring out the fact that maybe they are trying to use you and meddle in your life and lie to you at the same time, yeah, it hurts and it sucks. And I think we have every right to know about that. And then take from it what we want and decide for ourselves. Tucker Carlson didn't come into your house and hold a gun to your head and tell you had to believe what he said. He was simply going on the air in the town square, and previously the town square happened to be Fox News, happened to be your television. And you decide. As I always say, you decide for yourself. You fact check people. You're the fact checker. Don't listen to the fact checkers. Who the hell are they? You do it. But do it wisely. And open your mind and open your intellect to a discussion point, even about something that might hit close to home to you and you get passionate about. There's nothing wrong with passion. Just, use your brain as well, and don't shut someone down because they have a different view. So yeah, Tucker Carlson on Twitter, and I do hope that Elon Musk keeps going with what he said about Twitter, which was keeping it an open and honest forum, and no ideas will be quashed. And that's brilliant, because that was happening. And again, it's not conspiracy theory. They actually found that to be true. They actually found the U.S. government and the FBI meddling and making sure certain narratives were blocked and hidden, and the narratives they wanted were pushed more. And look, you may be someone who thinks, look, the government's there to help us and feed us and provide for us. And that if we find out the truth as a whole, not as an individual, but as towns and cities, and then as the country, as millions, we become a problem. We become panicky animals and we're a threat. Well, if you believe that, then you really do fit the bill of someone who will fit in nicely to a society that's less about open and free speech and democracy, and more about having a tyrant in charge. It sounds like you enjoyed the COVID lockdowns, and you enjoyed that authoritarian world, that you'd rather have a dictatorship. Well, enjoy that. A lot of young people on college campuses, I think they're getting unfortunately not a very well-rounded education. They're getting a very narrow view, and they will raise up their arms and talk about, communism and all of this is great, and socialism. And you should actually talk to someone who actually lived in those kind of countries. You should actually talk to somebody who fled Cuba and talk about the reality of living in those countries. Hey, communism does look good on paper, but I hate to tell you, in reality, you are either free or you're not. And all of that starts with free speech and a government which I still do believe in America when it comes to the ideas that were driven behind the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and the ideas that the people have a voice. And we still are in charge. You may not believe it, you may not feel it, but you are in charge. You're electing these people. You need to elect better people. Okay, I will be a bit cynical. I feel like if someone starts out in politics, they might have altruistic motives and ideas. Yeah, unfortunately, when they get higher up, it is easy to become corrupt because money is involved, and it's hard to get anywhere without money. And to get that money, you do have to put your hand out. I will say that is something I heard recently, and I thought it was brilliant. I forget what I was listening to. You know, the idea of politics, that's not the problem. It's the idea of how you get there and the money involved. You know, a very small percentage of billionaires, honestly, like a handful of billionaires, were actually involved in the last few elections. By the way, I don't care who you vote for or want to vote for, whether it's Trump or Biden or anybody. The only thing I'll say right now, and I won't turn this into a podcast about Trump, the only reason why they can't stand him is because he's an outlier. He is someone that, yeah, he's honest in that he tells you, yeah, he's part of the corruption himself. He tells you how they do it. He tells you how they do tax dodges, and that's what drives him crazy, because he's given away the show. He's given away everything. He's showing you the puppet strings, and they don't like that. So you got to give that about him. He'll do that. He's a disruptor, because why does he care? He has his own money, and he knows exactly how he got it. The problem with other politicians who didn't have money to start with, isn't it funny how a lot of them, Biden, sorry, it's a fact, end up with a lot of money? So, unfortunately, money corrupts, power corrupts. And what I heard was, is there a way to remove money from it? Because, again, in the last election, a very small amount of contributors provided money to the campaigns that they backed. You do realize that when someone gives money, it's not for free. They expect something back. And then if it's a product, that's fine. I bought a car, I get the car. But when you buy a politician, you do realize they'll expect something back. They'll expect you to do something for them. Whether it's make sure they have some tax breaks or whatever certain narrative that helps them, you better be pushing it, because they just gave you, $100 million for your campaign. I would say that's a problem, wouldn't you? I would say that makes it not a fair fight, because even if you did elect the person, the man, the woman, and they got to that high point in politics, and they did have to bow down to someone for money, unfortunately, they are no longer speaking for you. They're now in someone else's pocket. Tell me I'm wrong. So, yes, I do still believe in America and that we have a voice, but I do also believe you need to be aware that we have to work on that. We have to try to get that voice back. So the idea was to get rid of the idea of donations for elections. So for your campaign, instead of putting your hand out to all these big companies, are just going to end up owning your ass. They give it to the people. I'm not saying they're going to give you millions of dollars, but they give you a certain amount of that money, and that money is specifically for you to choose on where it goes. How fascinating is that? So, yes, your vote counts. You should vote. I'll never say that the popular vote doesn't count. It is hard to fight the electoral vote, but the popular vote still counts. But imagine if you also had some skin in the game. Imagine if you had some money in the game, and that was provided to you, whatever it was. I don't even, 100 times a million. If all Americans had $100, give them all $1,000, and you could decide who to give that $1,000 to, whose campaign. Imagine that. So not only are you going to be able to vote for the person you want that you believe speaks for you and will speak for you all the way up to the top, all the way up to Capitol Hill, now you have influence. You have influence by way of money. And I'm going to say, if we're talking democracy and fair, that almost does seem fair, because if the majority of people choose a certain person with their vote and their money, well, they're going to win, and they're going to owe their win to you. And therefore, they're now yours, which was the point. I'm not saying they don't have their own mind as well, but they're meant to speak for you. They're meant to be your voice. And I think that's fascinating, and those are the kind of changes I would like to see. And these are the kind of things that are fun to discuss. And hopefully these are the kind of things that Tucker can continue to discuss on Twitter, and I hope his viewership just grows and grows. And for the mainstream media, I can't help you. You made a huge mistake, and you're a dinosaur, and you're dying. Young people don't listen to cable news. They don't care if you got a really cool set piece. They don't care if your hair is being done by the makeup artist in the background. They get their information from places you don't even realize anymore. And it's all from their phones and at home and from forums. And yeah, so you're fighting a losing battle. You should have kept Tucker. Anyway, that's all. I just wanted to have a chat about that and say that I was pretty excited that he's on there, and I hope Twitter legitimately remains the town square and an open forum for all of you. I'll be honest, in the past 3 or 4 months, even my feed, I've noticed it's opened up to a lot of stories that I didn't see before, and that actually do appeal to me. I didn't do anything. I just go on and check now and again. I've done nothing. And now I'm seeing a more balanced view on everything. And it's more interesting, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying looking at other people's opinions and seeing new ones. That's fascinating. That's democracy. That's free speech. And I can't believe it's on something like Twitter. But it is. And it's not on primetime news TV anymore. So anyway, hope you have a beautiful day, and well, be sure to check out Tucker Carlson on Twitter. Be sure to check me out if you like. I'm Not Famous on Spotify, YouTube, and now on Rumble. That's another one I'll talk about later. YouTube's another one. A lot of shadow banning on YouTube. So moving on over to Rumble to see how we go there. All right, well, hope you have a great day, and get you later.